Hey, I'm Jeff Dawson. Welcome to my world, Washington, D.C., and we're standing in front of Bedrock Billiards, the first of many bars that I've opened in this city. Back in '92, I was a carpenter doing a whole bunch of odd jobs and renovating houses, and my cousin married a pool shark, and I thought, man, we need some pool tables in this town. I went ahead and opened Bedrock Billiards with a partner, Mark Handwerger. We had to raise money, we had to design it, we had to figure out what the hell we were doing because we had no idea. And somehow, after a year of banging our heads against the wall and banging some hammers and digging some holes, Bedrock emerged, and 32 years later, it's still one of the best bars in the city and a gem in this neighborhood. When we started, my wife Meg and I lived in an apartment on the 8th floor right above this, and I could commute on the elevator and literally never go outside. So 32 years later, Bedrock is still here, and it's still a neighborhood favorite. Let me show you around. Here we are, DC's coolest little bar. It's hard for me to believe that 32 years ago, this was just a hole in the ground. It had been storage containers for the apartments upstairs. We discovered all kinds of crazy circumstances when we did the demo, but I was so certain that we could turn this into a really cool little cozy neighborhood joint. And in fact, one of our first customers came through the door. I was standing right there behind the bar, and she says, "Oh my God, this is just like my grandmother's basement in Brooklyn." And I'm just thinking, that is music to my ears. It was exactly the vibe we were looking for. And for 32 years, that's what Bedrock has delivered to its customers. They come in, they know the bartender, they know their friends, they can play pool or not, but it's a place to hang out and just be a part of something really important. When we first opened, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pool tables. We thought we were gonna have 8 in the beginning, but in demolition, we found a column that was right in the middle of pool table number 8. So we adjusted on the fly. We started a membership here, which was accidentally one of the best business things we had done. For $50, you could become a lifetime member. And that allowed you to get 15% off everything all the time. And it just seemed like a good way to reward the people who were coming in a lot, but it also became sort of a badge. I'm member number 79. Ooh, okay, here's your discount. We still get people who come in and say, I'm member number, whatever, and they come in and they're so happy to be back here. And of course, we don't have any list and we don't even know anymore who the members are. But if you're that enthusiastic about being here, we'd love to welcome you. I think we have 2,000 members in a place that holds 100 customers. Hopefully they don't all show up at the same time. So the crazy thing about Bedrock is Adams Morgan was a big nightlife place that had really blown up, and the neighbors hated all the liquor licenses. So the idea of giving a liquor license to a pool hall was almost impossible. And so we met with all the neighborhood groups and everything, and despite the fact that we were both native Washingtonians, that we were nice guys and all that, they didn't want to give us a liquor license. So we opened a bar that did not have a liquor license. Now, some might call that crazy, but somehow we got people to invest in that. A year later, when we opened Atomic Billiards, we were able to get a beer and wine license for Bedrock, and then soon after that, we were able to actually add liquor, so we became a full bar. And the other secret here is that we don't serve food. Now, we serve some food, chips and nuts and whatever, but we've always been a place where you can get your incredible meal somewhere else and just come down here and watch the game or hang out and play pool and do your thing. So it works really well. We extended the bar around here because people really were hanging out more, and there used to be a pool table in the middle here. We decided we could give up a pool table in exchange for more seating, and that really turned out to be a great move. We also gave up a pool table in the corner, which was called Table 5, and that was kind of a favorite, but in favor of 3 dartboards. And so we have dart leagues, and we have pool leagues. We have 2 shuffleboard tables that arrived later. And it was really just sort of, creating other things that people could do, games they could play. I would come down when I lived upstairs and come through the back door here and walk into this pitch dark basement every morning and kind of look around and be like, okay, what do we have to do? Clean the bathrooms, take care of business, clean the tables, get ready. In the beginning, we would open at lunch, and my mom, who was recently retired, was our daytime manager, and she made sandwiches that the neighborhood fell in love with, and she met everybody. She loved being a part of this thing in the beginning, and for me, in hindsight, now that she's no longer with us, I can really think of her being down here and running her own little social club and attracting just the most interesting, diverse group of people to Bedrock in the early days. That's, to me, warms my heart and makes me really proud of this place for that reason alone. It's a low ceiling place. You got a duck in some places. It's not a spot that any rational person would put a bar. Once it was done and once the lighting was set and the place started to feel like something, we were amazed. I mean, I sort of knew it all along, but I kept telling people, no, it's gonna be dark and it's gonna be cozy. And back then you could smoke, it's gonna be a smoky bar. We had 3 seating areas, which are now 2 seating areas because we added foosball. But they were these funky old couches and chairs. Lighting sets the tone. You walk through the door and you just feel a certain way. Bedrock's great, but I look around and I see a bunch of lighting mistakes. Somebody replaced light bulbs with 5,000 Kelvin bare bulbs, and looking at bare bulbs is always a no-no. So I'll come back in and fix those soon because that's it's just so important. It makes the place feel great. We got rid of the beautiful mohair furniture, just didn't hold up. I mean, it's been replaced with a blend of vintage-y chairs and tables. It's one of those things where you just have to make do with what you can. I do see one of the vintage pieces, 4 of them actually. This chair, which is torn and needs to be fixed. This cool couch, which used to be in the cubby hole over there, it was the baseball couch. We had the Orioles games going on a little speaker, and people could sit here and listen to the day games. It was one of our customers' idea. This light, this old hospital light, another great little piece. So there's some pieces left, and then sort of these average tables that have been put in to make the blend. But it also just shows you that these places have a life of their own. They just turn into something. They keep evolving with the customers and with whatever the customers need. You don't really know when you open the doors. You're thinking, oh, this is what everybody wants. You have no idea that at some point you're going to have something like 100 pool stick lockers, which are under these counters, which we've bought. Every time we think we've got enough, we have to buy another 8 or 10. These lights we built, this was kind of a fun project. It's gives you just enough light on the pool table, but not too much glare to the side. In the beginning, Bedrock had a couple of TVs, but that's when TVs were like these CRT things, and lifting them up was pretty impossible. And now with flat screens, you got to have the game on. But that's not what drives it. It's not a sports bar. That's sort of icing on the cake. You can feel the vibe as just a comfortable hangout. And that's really, to me, the best success that we could have hoped for. Over here in these window wells, it was really interesting. I wanted to have actual windows going to the street because back in the day, that's what these were for ventilation. But they were just redoing the sidewalks when we came in, and they told us we couldn't get any daylight down here. So I was like, all right. So I started buying these classic radios, which back in the day cost like $5 or $10 each. And here's an old wooden one. Just stuck them up in there and got the lights to shine and in there. And they've been sort of gradually turned into the displays for the pool champions trophies, but the radios are still here. It's fantastic that after 32 years, more than a dozen old radios are still in their little homes on the wall and just doing their job, looking over our customers. This is table 1, which is sort of the favorite. During the day, we would be down here playing, and this is the 2nd generation of lights, but the old one had a spot that had sheetrock compound on it. And right before opening, I kept saying, we have to fix that, we have to fix it, we got to get that fixed. Everything has to be perfect, and we didn't get it done. And then year after year after year, I never fixed it, and there was this blotch on the end of the light, and it became sort of like a good luck thing for me. Don't ever fix it, because somehow, despite my demanding that everything be perfect, and I was insane when we were opening this place. I just had gone so deep into this hole of what Bedrock was going to be. And then it sort of, as I stepped back from that and realized that it wasn't about me, that I was sort of the first piece of turning this thing into something that our customers could enjoy, that our customers would then take and craft themselves and turn into something that it is today. These wavy bars that we made, we're just standing around, we're gonna build these little bars. We're like, why don't we just give them a little wiggle and a waggle? Because there's something comfortable about leaning up against a undulating bar that gives you this sense of motion without being too contrived. It's just black Formica, there's nothing special about it. But that was Stephen Pelzinski, who was just a fantastic craftsman, who just said, yeah, why don't we do that? And I was like, all right. We had a great jukebox when we opened. We did all of our own CDs, and we discovered that if you hated a song, you just didn't put it on the list. So you could have a whole album and go from song 1 to song 4 and not have song 2 and 3 in people's minds to play. So we were able to create this jukebox that, until Touchstones, which I can't stand, came in, and it was really, really a famous jukebox. People loved it, and the vibe down here was always good. Music is so important. The right volume, the right time of day, the right feeling, and we had that going so well. One of the other cool things that we did as we were building this bar, the expansion bar, I remember thinking like, okay, a bar just has you facing the bartender, but wouldn't it be great to be able to have a bar where you're still part of the bar, but you're sitting here, and you're sitting here, and now suddenly you've got essentially, 3 or 4 people can sit, 5 people, 6 people sometimes can sit here. They've got a little light, they've got whatever, they're connected to the bartender. But it just became, we have a little section over there, one here, and it's like, I've never seen a bar like this anywhere. And this just came from the conversations that we would have on site, that we would just, sort of imagine, well, what could we do that's cool? Because otherwise it's just the space that's just wasted. Boy, just touching this bar makes me feel good. I know how many conversations have been held here. How many babies are we responsible for? That's a good question. Overall, the number of people who have met here, who have had their first date, who have come here to celebrate, who we've had weddings, we've had wedding parties. The number of people who say, man, I wouldn't have my family if I hadn't gone to Bedrock is staggering. And that's also something when I think about the value of this career, this thought that, I didn't just open a bar. I created a place where people could be together, a place, during 9/11. It was somber and we were full. We had people here for just to commiserate, to so many people from New York were here, who were just crying about their home. The snowstorms, the city shut down for snowstorms. Where did everybody go? Well, a lot of them came to Bedrock. People just kind of started cascading down the stairs like ants, and coming in. And it's also funny, people have their own spot. That's like, this is where one person will sit. This is essentially Cheers, a place where everybody knows your name, which is sort of a hackneyed old thing, except it's true, and this is that place. One of our customers, Byron Peck, who's a well-known muralist and just a wonderful guy, and was one of those guys who lived here 4, 5, 6 nights a week. He was complaining about how much he was spending at Bedrock, and I said, well, look, why don't you give us a mural, make a mural, and we'll give you a tab. And so I can't remember exactly what the deal was. It was either free drinks forever or some amount, but it was all very handshaky and let's just do it. And so Byron goes to work on this thing, and it's really an incredible work of art. And right now, like the foos table, players' butts can rub against it, but it's durable. It's been there on that wall. I think we've moved it a little bit from time to time, but This represents the Bedrock community. It represents how one customer dug his way in a little bit deeper and left us with something which is fabulous. This piece actually used to be our front desk, and it came out of an old bowling alley. It had a glass top and a display case, and it all sort of fell apart, so we just covered it with Formica. But we also put in these bowling balls. I love the idea of bowling balls as just something iconic, and this is the old Brunswick bowling logo. So we put that guy onto the front of this thing, and we drilled holes in the bowling balls and made them a leg. And basically there used to be lights in here, and the thing's kind of falling apart, and I guess I got to come and repair it. But it just was this one more kind of cool little thing, and you watch people come and they would, sort of rub the bowling balls. And so we did another set of those at the end of the bar, on each corner of the bar, which you just don't notice, but as a subtlety, when you're down here, you look over and it's kind of like, oh cool, bowling balls. Why are those there? And one of my rules in bars is it doesn't really matter what's between the bar and the floor, but to some degree, these little plywood panels we put in with the designs on them, when the place is crowded, nobody sees it, but on a Saturday afternoon and there's just a couple dozen people here and you look over, you get a backdrop that really shows that every surface of this place was built with passion and built by people who cared about what it looked like and built by people who were kind of thinking about a way to make it cool. Here's another one, spaghetti lights. These were really popular in the 50s and found that you could get them on eBay. So we just bought, actually at Continental, we cornered the market on these and the price went through the roof, so we had to stop. But I love the lighting of them so much, just the general feeling of the light that they throw out, but they also cascade light down onto the bar so you can see your drinks, and it's subtle light, but it's good light, and there's some orange and red to it, and that sort of makes everybody look better. Back to the 5,000 Kelvin light bulbs that need to be replaced over there, that makes everybody think it's time to go home. And that's one of the balancing acts when you're lighting a pool table, is you want this bright light on the tabletop, but you don't want it in the eyes of a person who's sitting down nearby. And so this is another iteration of what we've done, but they basically used to have these little screens in that would sort of shelter the light, but then we discovered we didn't need those. And now it's LED lights, but they're bright enough and you don't get a lot of shadows. And so it works really well, but the light doesn't go beyond the table very much. And I've seen pool halls where they've got these huge new lights that shine, but the whole place is washed in light, and you do not feel like hanging around for that third drink because you're looking around and everybody looks terrible because they're in this bright light. So it's a little balancing act between making the pool tables work and making the people who really want to play pool happy, and making the other people who are just chilling and hanging out, feel good. And I think we pulled that off. One of the really amazing things about this 32 years at Bedrock is the people. It's really about the people, the regulars, the people we've met, the people who found us and never left. And one of those was Ben Cow, who's memorialized on the wall. Ben was a regular pool player, loved the game, loved Bedrock, and ended up working here for many years and just was one of the faces of this business. One of the people that we would never have become what we are without Ben and people like Ben. He died in 2022. It's incredible. Dirty dog, Ben Cow. When I think about, again, about the impact of my having opened this place and other great neighborhood bars, it has to do with Ben Cow. It has to do with people like that who make this their home, who take ownership. I mean, literally, I would come in and try to change something, like, we're gonna move this over here and do that. And the regulars are like, no, we're not. I learned to very thoughtfully make changes and to not complain about things. This wall over here has all these pool trophies on it. It used to have 3 really cool lights. The rings are still there on the wall, and they would kind of shine down on the bar, and it has this great artwork. In fact, for many years, we did a rotating artist display, and we would have art openings and have people come in. Everything was kind of for sale, and we didn't take any commission. We just wanted to support local artists. That became hard after a while. I think what really happened there is we had one really, really over-the-top art exhibit that was offensive to a lot of our customers. And we said, well, we really need you to take this, this, and this off the wall. And suddenly we were censoring art, and I was like, oh shit, so wow, here's a booby trap I didn't expect. We kind of backed out of that. But again, I would never have put all these trophies on the wall. But what they say to me is that they're kind of random and they're not beautiful. They're crooked a little bit, or the ceiling's crooked. It doesn't look perfect. But what it looks like is that it's been put up there by people who actually care about what's going on here. This isn't a corporate, very carefully crafted thing to get, the maximum dollars out of every customer. It's not. This is a place where people just come and live. And in the course of time, it's like a marathon. It just steadily produces enough to keep open, to pay the people who work here, and have a little bit of profit at the end. Whoa, the world does exist outside of Bedrock. I think about Bedrock in a lot of ways. I think about it as obviously the first bar that I opened, but not just as a business. I think of it as just this first kind of building block in creating something that has helped so many people have a home and a place to meet people and be a part of the city. Bedrock is imperfect. It's always been imperfect. Things are a little off, a little broken, a little this, a little that. But the combination of all of those pieces of it, even this crappy door that the landlord put in that, you just got to put up with. It's like a stew, where you're putting in all these pieces, and despite the fact that none of them alone tastes all that good, you let them blend, and you let it simmer for 32 years, and suddenly you have like this incredible stew of Bedrock Billiards, and that, I think, is the success of this. It really defines for me a time in my life when I took a chance. I had just enough energy and craziness, and it became a career. It became a thing that I can hang my hat on, forever. I know that when I'm gone, people will still be talking about Bedrock, and that lasting story in other people's lives is the thing that really makes me love Bedrock. I'm Jeff Dawson, and this has been the story of Bedrock. And when you're in DC, you should visit, come in, tell the bartender Jeff says the first beer's on him. If they believe you, you got a free beer. Take care.